If you don't pay tithe, you are a criminal. Meet Pastor David Ibiyeomie of Salvation Ministries in Nigeria, a product of Bishop Oyedepo's Word of Faith Bible Institute. Speaking at a church service in 2022, this pastor likened tithing to payment of tax to the government, saying remitting the 10% of all incomes to church is compulsory. He declared that those who fail to remit their tithes to church are criminals, and the offense is punishable. And these were his words: "Tax is the government's share, so you don't say, 'I want to give the government my tax,' you say you want to pay tax. That's how tithe is God's own." Leviticus 27 verse 30. God is the owner of the tithe. So what do? You pay. It's only in Nigeria you don't pay tax and they can leave you. In the Western world, it is a big criminal offense. If you don't pay tithe, you are a criminal, and your offense is punishable. Tithe is simply 1/10 of your income. 10% of your income goes to God. And when speaking on why some Christians experience near-success syndrome, here is what he said. Many deliverance ministries, they just go for deliverance. This is the problem. They don't pay tithe faithfully. Yet they will say, "Anything I want to do, when it is about to click, it will just go off." It is near-success syndrome. Correct it from tithing. Don't correct it from 7 days deliverance. Hear this. Tithe must be paid first, otherwise the curse will remain. But his spiritual father was the first one to intimidate people of coming under a curse if they don't tithe. Here is what he wrote. Tithing is an inescapable covenant obligation. Prosperity, not just wealth, is impossible without tithing, because when you are not paying your tithe, you're under a financial curse.
You don't give your tithe because you come under a curse if you don't give. Today you cannot come under a curse.
Some time ago, he came up and lied that Adam touched the tithe of God. That's why he was sent out of the Garden of Eden. Of course, that's charismatic madness to intimidate people to tithe. Here are his words.
"This is my law to you, Adam. Take everything here, but this one don't what? Don't touch it." You all know the story. Is that not true? Yeah, glory to God. When Adam touched it, God said, "You mean, Adam, you touched it? What is it that Adam touched?" I'm going somewhere. Now listen. If it was apple, by symbolic illustration, then you and I should not eat apple again. True? If it was adultery, it was only one woman, so there wouldn't have been anywhere to commit adultery. So what is it that Adam did? What was the sin he committed? Because you need to ask questions. That God will get so angry as, "Adam, you mean you committed this sin? Get out here." Did he commit adultery? He did not eat apple. It's not apple Adam ate, please. You get up some voice. If not, you shouldn't be eating apple again. That means after you eat apple, you already committed sin. And then some of you ate apple even yesterday. Adam touched the tithe. Adam did what? The tithe was the only thing God told him not to touch. He said, "This one is yours, but this is mine. Don't touch it." So every time you touch your tithe, you are living in dishonesty. You're living in what? You are tampering with that which God has told you not to touch. Many Christians are not honest with their tithing. Are you hearing me? They touch it today. They say, "God, forgive me." Now listen. Every time you willfully disobey God, there's a consequence. There's a what? It sent Jesus to redeem mankind, but it sent Adam out. He may forgive you, but it may lead you to poverty.
And following such lies and errors, Apostle Takim had to say something on this. Here is what he said. Terrible. A Nigerian preacher claimed that the fruit Adam ate in the garden was his tithe. Can someone tell these generation of giants that the flood of judgment on their lies and errors is coming either in time or eternity? That if they do not debunk these things, they will suffer judgment in the next life? Pastor Ibiyeomie on tithing said, "You will go to hell for not tithing."
Anyone who is not paying his tithe is not going to heaven. Full stop.
Bishop Oyedepo said, Job was attacked because he did not tithe.
You can't see anywhere where Job tithed, so his blessing was not secured. He was overly committed to giving liberally to the poor, and God is committed to bless him, but there was no security.
Pastor Ibiyeomie said, the fruit that Adam ate in the garden was his tithe. Sadly, the millions they influence believe these heresies, saying, "Do not correct fathers." Well, the Bible rebukes them strongly in so many scriptures. That's why we are pointing it out to you. They make all these heretic claims just to keep people giving, things the Bible never said. This explains why most people now see tithing as a scam and urge people to stop giving. And Apostle has more truths on tithing. And take note, this is just a small part of the entire message. Visit Apostle Takim's YouTube channel for the full message. Having said that, let's dive in.
I've told you before, the person who began tithing was Abraham. And in the days of Abraham, there was no law. There was nothing like if you don't give tithe, you're under a curse. It never existed. So under the law, why God told them, if you don't give your tithe, you come under a curse, because that was the covenant then. Are you understanding me? But when Jesus went on the cross and died, he shut down the curse of the law. He didn't shut down the practice of tithing. That was why when he was rebuking the Pharisees, he said, you make people to tithe everything, and you forgot the weightier matters of the law, which is mercy. You are so strict on money matters, but you are not strict in matters of righteousness, matters of mercy and truth. So that was what, so Jesus laid the system of tithing to rest. He didn't lay the practice to rest, and I will show you why. There is the intimidators who come, bishop, pastors, that spend 2 hours talking about only tithing. That if you are suffering because you're not paying tithe, your wife left you, you're not paying tithe, the clients do not come in the morning, you're not paying tithe, your children cry at night, you're not paying tithe. That is heresy. That is the first attack that came on tithe, and that one lasted for years. I can mention ministries who attack tithing and they make money out of it. From the 80s, when they began to preach about tithing in Nigeria so strongly, one of them recently came and said the reason why Satan destroyed the wealth of Job is because Job was not a tither. Those are preachers who intimidate people with lies to tithe. And the Lord began to show me. I said that was the first attack on tithing that came. So led by such preachers who would tell you that Job had attacks on his wealth because he was not a tither, and the congregation would shout and believe such a lie. Why in the dispensation of Job, generosity was not through tithing? Job lived the same period when the book of Genesis was written. So he wasn't under the covenant of Israel. He wasn't part of Abraham's stock. Job was not. In fact, history has it that he was more of a stronger patriarch than Abraham, and they never lived in the same days. He discovered God and walked with him. That is why if you don't read history, especially the history of the Jews, and you will not even understand where the Bible is coming from. So people like this can lie.
This kind of preachers usually make people replace purity with tithing. They make you take tithing as a tax that you should pay, else you come under a curse. Have a listen to this.
The first attack on tithe was the preaching of heresy, the twisting of the scripture, like what I've just explained, and the intimidation of people to pay tithe, not even give. They use the word pay as if it's a tax. So they will tell you tithe is a task. A tax, T-A-X. Tithe is a tax, and they make people give. They make people replace purity with tithing. They make people replace prayer life with tithing. They make people replace righteousness with tithing, and they make them so strict in tithing, even the money they gave you for shoes. A student is in school, the father sending school fees, he gives tithe from school fees to the fellowship of the school. Thank God. If I know you, I won't send the school fees again. So all those stuff, now they make students tithe from school fees, make business people tithe from capitals. Why you don't tithe from capital, you don't tithe from school fees, and they make it look like the Pharisee. And God showed me that was the first attack on the tithe. And that one make people so rich, make churches so rich. Now the one who spoke about Job, what is driving the economy of his church is tithe. Because people tithe even the untitable. It's time that your pastor stand on the altar and tell, if you don't tithe, come on there, because say, excuse me, sir, we tithe by revelation, not by intimidation, sir. Please teach us the right thing. We don't tithe by intimidation.
Apostle takes us through when tithe came to be and in which dispensation tithe was introduced. Just listen to this.
Hebrews chapter 7, verse 4. Now consider how great this man was, that is Melchizedek, to whom even the patriarch Abraham gave a tenth of the spoils. You don't pay tithe, actually, you give tithe. We don't pay tithe. Under the law, they paid. Under grace, we don't pay. We give. When did tithing start? Is it under the law? No. It started in the dispensation of conscience. So you pay, you give your tithe if you sense God. It's your conscience, not a matter of persuasion. Your conscience, your work with God should tell you.
Apostle concludes by telling us that one should differentiate between tithing under the law and tithing under grace. We don't tithe under the law, that's why we cannot come under a curse for not tithing. We tithe out of responsibility to God.
You must differentiate between tithing under the law and tithing outside the law. Me, I don't tithe according to the law. So that means if I don't tithe, I cannot come under a curse because I'm not under the law. Are you understanding me? In this dispensation, when you don't tithe, you don't come under curses. You tithe out of responsibility. And what do we define responsibility in the Bible school? Responsibility is responding to ability. You tithe out of what? Responsibility to God. You don't tithe because you want God to rebuke devourers. You tithe because you are a responsible steward.
And here is another video that you need to watch. Thanks for watching.